as the general will tell you, was part of a massive, high-risk amphibious invasion behind North Korean lines. And I know that a representative from South Korea is here, and I know how proud they are. In fact, South Korea awarded posthumously Baldomero López their highest medal. Ultimately, his troops were to use Higgins boats to offload on what they thought was a beachhead. But the reconnaissance flight the day before reported there is no beach. There is a 10-foot seawall. If you look at the famous picture of Baldomero López leading his platoon, you see two makeshift step ladders. When it was reported that the Higgins boat could not drop and his men get off on the beach, that they needed to build some step ladders. They had Mount McKinley, AG 67. The historic battle started on a day just like today, September 15, 1950, 75 years ago. 5:30 a.m., General Quarters.
Buenas tardes, Tampa Bay, aquí en la página de tampabay.com. Estamos en vivo ahora mismo viendo una conferencia de prensa, un evento, una ceremonia en la que están honrando la vida y el sacrificio que realizó un hispano. Y exactamente hoy, en el primer día del mes de la herencia hispana aquí en nuestro estado y también en el país. Así que vamos a escuchar un poquito sobre quién es Baldomero López, un nativo de aquí de la bahía de Tampa, exactamente de Ybor City. Y bueno, en estos momentos están celebrando y están honrando su memoria varios líderes de la ciudad de Tampa.
Telling his platoon the command, "Follow me." She started snapping pictures. She saw Baldomero López leading his platoon. You see, you don't know it's Baldomero López, but he's the very first one that's going over the seawall. She reported not only what she heard, but that picture today is the leading picture of the Korean War. The same as we remember the Marines with the Mount Suribachi raising of the flag in the Pacific during the Second World War, which became the picture of the Second World War. This became the picture of the Korean War. As his platoon offloaded, they were being held down by two machine gun units that were keeping them down. Baldomero López crawled and took one of his hand grenades and threw it into the first pillbox, eliminated that enemy machine gun. Now he was going to crawl to the second and do the same maneuver. But as he was coming up with his grenade to throw the grenade into the second pillbox, that machine gun ripped up Baldomero López. And as he fell, trying to grab that live grenade, he shouted to his men the last words that his unit heard, "Live grenade," when he could not grab because he was too shot up. He decided to sacrifice himself and rolled his body onto the grenade and took the full blast. His commanding officer was Captain Stevens. I knew Captain Stevens when we were both invited to speak at Hillsborough High School many years ago. He told me, "EJ, when I saw him rolling onto that grenade and immediately instant death of Lieutenant Baldomero López, I was not only shocked, but I wrote to General MacArthur, telling MacArthur the courageous sacrifice that the young man from Tampa had given to save his platoon. Lopez died in combat with the courage that makes men great. When MacArthur read the accounts of the superiors about Baldomero López, he recommended the Congressional Medal of Honor. I must tell you that Hispanics, minorities, did not frequently get even considered for our highest military decoration, the Congressional Medal of Honor. But MacArthur was so impressed that his parents were invited to come to Washington, D.C. to receive the Medal of Honor posthumously on behalf of a very grateful nation. I mentioned to you about the picture, the last picture that we have of Lieutenant Baldomero López going up the stairs. That famous picture was taken by Marguerite Higgins, the same year that Baldomero died. That picture received such great national attention that he received the 1950 Pulitzer Prize for such a photograph. What devotion to duty, captured forever by Miss Higgins's camera. The telegram was received informing Mr. and Mrs. Baldomero López here in
celebrating her birthday at that sports bar last night. When she and her friends left, that's when shots rang out.
We didn't come here for that. We just came to have a good time, and just to hear something happen soon as you left a place is just, I don't know, it's just unheard of.
Tiara Jones came from Toledo, Ohio to Ybor City to celebrate her birthday with two friends. She says they were at another location,
Saludos
but
amigos
their
de
server recommended they
Tampa.com.
go to
En
Flex
estos
Sports Bar.
momentos nos estamos conectando para darles información de última hora. Acaban de identificar a la víctima de la balacera en Ybor City. Esta balacera fue la balacera que se reportó el pasado sábado durante la noche a las 2:15 de la mañana frente a Flex Export Bar y Ultra Lounge en 7th Avenue. Básicamente esto que estamos viendo en estos momentos son imágenes de el reportaje que estuvimos presentando durante la mañana de hoy en WFLA, nuestra parte en inglés de tampahoy.com. Y entonces lo que en estos momentos acaban de las autoridades informar es que la víctima de 30 años fue identificada como Gabriel Tompkins. Este muchacho fue asesinado durante el fin de semana luego de un altercado que hubo entre dos grupos frente a este Sport Bar en Ybor City. Exactamente, es muy quien ha visitado el área de Ybor City sabe que este lugar está muy cercano a restaurantes muy populares como Columbia, un lugar que es bastante frecuentado por la comunidad hispana, pero en específico este lugar Flex Sport Bar y Ultra Lounge está ubicado básicamente a un bloque de restaurante Columbia y bueno, es un lugar bastante concurrido durante los fines de semana, en especial los sábados cuando uno va caminando por esa área o va manejando. Las autoridades usualmente se encuentran en el medio de la carretera para que las personas bajen la velocidad por esa zona. Sin embargo, este pasado sábado un joven fue expulsado de esta discoteca llamada Flex Export Bar y Ultra Lounge en 7th Avenue. Y esto ocurrió allá a las 2:15 de la mañana, cuando este muchacho lo expulsaron y luego aparentemente, según las autoridades y según las investigaciones de las autoridades, el joven volvió con un arma. En ese momento pues se formó un altercado entre estos dos grupos de personas y luego este joven que ahora sí fue acusado y fue arrestado el pasado fin de semana, va a tener que enfrentar cargos. También otra de la información que envió las autoridades en estos momentos es que Tompkins, ellos están confirmando que Tompkins recibió un disparo y también este fue trasladado del hospital del área a un hospital cercano donde fue declarado muerto. Por lo tanto, el joven murió en el hospital, tal como lo habíamos mencionado durante nuestra cobertura durante el fin de semana, pero las autoridades en el día de hoy lo están confirmando como parte de las investigaciones. En el día de hoy yo traté de comunicarme con el departamento de la policía en español para que hablara con nosotros sobre la violencia que está ocurriendo en el área. Sin embargo, me mencionaron que están todavía bajo investigación todos estos casos y les gustaría brindar la información más precisa. Por lo tanto, vamos a estar hablando con la policía de Tampa en español en los próximos días y bueno, yo voy a estar bien pendiente de lo que ocurre en nuestra comunidad, en especial en estos momentos en el área de Ybor City, que es un área que va en crecimiento y ahora mismo es la ciudad que está albergando bastantes hispanos aquí en nuestra comunidad. Además de que próximamente es la expansión más importante del centro de la ciudad de Tampa con su nuevo proyecto Gasworks. Así que esto es muy importante mantenernos al tanto de los crímenes y de las cosas que están ocurriendo además de estar siempre atento de lo que ocurre a nuestro alrededor, ya que estas situaciones pues ocurren en el momento menos indicado, cuando nos encontramos simplemente quizás pasando un buen rato entre amistades, familia y en lugares como estos que son para la familia en nuestra zona. Así que vamos a seguir con nuestra programación en tampahoy.com y nuevamente la víctima fue identificada como Gabriel Topkins, de 30 años. Mi nombre es José Ángel Acevedo y esto es tampahoy.com.
Virginia Military Institute. He has served in every Marine Expeditionary Force across all elements of the Marine Air Ground Task Force and in much of the supporting establishment.
Saludos amigos de tampahoy.com, aquí estoy nuevamente conectándome con ustedes para darle información y contexto de quién es nuestro héroe que estamos honrando en el día de hoy, Baldomero López, quien es un héroe de guerra nacido en Ybor City y fue graduado en Hillsborough High School. En el día de hoy estamos viendo una conferencia de prensa en la que un evento, una ceremonia oficial en la que se encuentran varios de nuestros líderes de la ciudad de Tampa brindándole honores a este héroe de guerra que, bueno, fue nacido aquí en nuestra zona, exactamente en Ybor City, y fue graduado en High School, Hillsborough High School. Este también entregó su vida en la guerra de Corea para salvar a uno de sus compañeros de combate, y eso es básicamente lo que nos están diciendo todos los líderes en este evento oficial de la ciudad de Tampa, como parte también del inicio del mes de la herencia hispana. López murió en el 1950 durante el desembarco en Incheon. Durante la pasada hora, varias personas de la comunidad se han encontrado completamente unidos, honrando la memoria de este soldado de floridano e hispano. Vamos a escuchar a este militar que nos va a dar historia.
Distinguished guests, thank you all for coming out to this important event to honor the life and legacy of Lieutenant Baldomero López. I first want to thank Judge Falcini for sharing with us the inspiring story of how Lieutenant López came to be on that wall in Korea on September 15, 1950. I want to share with all of you how the legacy of what Lieutenant López and his fellow Marines achieved at Incheon reverberates with us today and will far into the future. In June 1950, the North Korean People's Army, called the Inman Gun, crossed the 38th parallel and quickly pushed United States forces down to a small perimeter in the southeast corner of Korea called the Pusan perimeter. The 5th Marine Regiment, Lieutenant Lopez's unit, was holding on to a very tenuous grip of the southwest corner called the Nakong Bulge. As Judge Salcinas reminded us,
Este compañero del teniente Baldomero López está contando y narrando la razón por la que están honrando la memoria de Baldomero y también cómo él se sacrificó por el batallón por el que dio la vida este floridano hispano durante la guerra en Corea.
A bold counterstroke, an amphibious landing at
Los invitamos a que las personas que estén conectadas ahora mismo en tampahoy.com nos visiten en todas las redes sociales también. Si nos estás viendo a través de Instagram, Facebook y las redes sociales, como lo acabo de mencionar, simplemente compartan el video. También compartan algún comentario que tengan sobre la herencia hispana y cómo estos hispanos, en especial en el día de hoy estamos hablando de un teniente local hispano y del cual en el día de hoy está cumpliendo 75 años de su sacrificio, dando su vida por el grupo de personas con la que él estaba defendiendo a nuestra patria, a Estados Unidos, durante la guerra de Corea, en el 1950, que fue exactamente en la fecha que este soldado y este teniente perdió la vida por su familia y por su pelotón. La ciudad de Tampa está honrando su memoria en el día de hoy y esto es un evento que se está realizando en el centro el centro astuariano de Tampa, y esto queda en Nebraska Avenue. En ese lugar, en el día de hoy, pues muchos de nuestros líderes de la ciudad de Tampa se han reunido para empezar el mes de la herencia hispana, que es bastante icónico en nuestra zona, mucho más ahora que nuestra zona, la Bahía de Tampa, está llena de nosotros los hispanos, y por eso WFLA ha creado este espacio de tampahoy.com para hacernos más parte de la comunidad de aquí de la Bahía de Tampa, porque se dieron cuenta que el hispano y la herencia hispana es muy importante. Así que yo creo que vamos a seguir teniendo mucho éxito en nuestra zona, los hispanos, y tal como lo estamos haciendo, honrando la memoria, honrando el legado de personas como Baldomero López, que quizás muchos de nosotros no lo conocemos, pero gracias a un día como hoy, un 15 de septiembre del 2025, líderes de la ciudad nos están hablando de su historia y nos están hablando de qué fue lo que él hizo para ganar ese momento. Estas personas influentes, estas personas que básicamente en los años 50 eran y se convirtieron en influencers, que como lo llamamos en el día de hoy, y que muchas de las personas se han visto bastante inspiradas en su carrera para poder llevar a cabo todo lo que hacemos como hispanos. Así que vamos a escuchar un poquito más sobre lo que ocurre en este servicio y en esta ceremonia oficial de la ciudad de Tampa, y lo que termina diciendo este oficial que nos está hablando en estos momentos en la ceremonia.
South Korea, one of our stalwart allies in the Pacific, to this very day. And as we turn on our Samsung TVs at night and get in our Hyundais out in the parking lot and use the 5th generation microchips in our smartphone as we count South Korea as one of our stalwart allies in the Pacific, with the 12th largest economy in the world, we're experiencing the legacy of Baldomero López, Lieutenant López and his fellow Marines helped achieve for our country. Let's look at the Marine Corps. What's the impact on the Marine Corps? Amphibious assaults were being questioned by leadership in the Army in 1950. The Marines believed in amphibious operations. They knew that as long as the globe is 3/4 water, there's always going to be a time and a place to land on an opponent's shore, surprise an adversary, and defeat our nation's enemies. Amphibious operations are alive and well in the Marine Corps today. Talk about leadership. We visited Lieutenant Lopez's junior ROTC unit earlier today, where we learned what an outstanding leader he was as the Cadet Brigade Commander. I'm happy to report to you that every Marine who goes through boot camp at Parris Island or San Diego, or goes through basic officer training, the basic school at Quantico, Virginia, will see the picture of Lieutenant Baldomero López scaling the wall at Incheon as an example of leadership by example, and this will be the case for the next 250 years. Let's talk about the impact on recruiting. There was another company grade officer on the wall with Lieutenant López that day, company commander named Captain Robert Barrett. He was leading Alpha Company, 1st Battalion, 1st Marines. His company would successfully land at Incheon and take part in the liberation of Seoul. And years after Incheon, when the country transitioned to an all-volunteer force, and we did not have leaders who understood the value of recruiting, Captain Barrow, one of the heroes at Incheon, who would later earn a Navy Cross during the breakout from the Chosin Reservoir, had studied this, and when he held my job, the Deputy Commandant for Manpower and Reserve Affairs for the great General Lew Wilson, the 26th Commandant of the Marine Corps, they would put in place the system of processes and techniques for attracting and inspiring young men and women of character to become Marines that we use to this day. And our recruiting is successful because of what officers like him insisted upon, that we only accept the very highest quality young men and women to become Marines. Now, I've talked about the impact on the world in the Pacific, in South Korea. I've talked about the impact to the Marine Corps. Let's get closer to home now. Let's talk about what Baldomero López means right here to the people of Tampa, because we have Major Ulysses Sosa and Sergeant Major Alvarez with us, and they are the leaders of Recruiting Station Tampa, one of the 48 recruiting stations that we have within the Marine Corps Recruiting Command. I'm very happy to report to you that the recruiting station headquartered right here in Tampa is the most productive of all of the recruiting stations we have within the Marine Corps Recruiting Command. And it's pretty clear to see why. Because the city of Tampa loves their military, and the city of Tampa really, really loves their Marines. And you can see this when, taking it a little closer to home, we were at Hillsbury High School earlier today. And we were talking to the junior ROTC unit there. And the Marine recruiter there has 4 young men and women already enrolled in the delayed entry program, ready to follow the legacy of Lieutenant Baldomero López. We were there just talking to kids. Guess what? There's more young men and women who aren't old enough yet who are chomping at the bit, eager to get their shot at earning the title Marines. All of which is to say, the legacy of Baldomero López is alive and well. His spirit is animating all of you here in Tampa. It's no secret why Tampa makes such great Marines and why this is such a wonderful city. So it's an honor to be here to honor the life and legacy of Lieutenant Baldomero López. Thank you all for what you do. Semper Fidelis.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant General. Very inspiring and energetic, very energetic. That's just beyond words. Next, it is my great pleasure to welcome up here and introduce our mayor for the city of Tampa, Mayor Jane Castor. And we all know Mayor Jane Castor well before she was our mayor. She served for over 3 decades in Tampa Police Department, rising to the position as our first female chief of police, where she demonstrated valor again and again and again.
En estos momentos, nuestra alcaldesa Jane Castor va a participar del evento en el que va a mencionar cuáles son las nuevas iniciativas que tiene la ciudad para honrar la memoria de el Teniente Baldomero López.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here today. And as you have heard, Tampa is a military town. There is no doubt about that. And while we take Lieutenant Baldomero Lopez as our local hero, he is truly an American hero. And he symbolizes those values that define the city of Tampa, those values of service, of courage.
La alcaldesa está diciendo que López se identifica mucho con la ciudad por sus valores.
He stood for so much more here in our community, and we couldn't be more
por su aporte a la comunidad después de su acción y salvar la vida de su pelotón. Algo que inspira a la ciudad.
And also our distinguished judge, Salcinas, that it has special meaning to Tampa's Hispanic community. As you heard, he was
que
born in
tiene un
Ybor
significado
City,
especial
raised
para la
in our
comunidad
neighborhoods,
de
and
hispana de Tampa.
went on to become a national hero. Knowing that a Medal
Y
of
esta es la
Honor
razón por la
recipient
que
shares their roots,
López
the
ha sido
Hispanic
calificado como
community brings
un
deep
héroe
pride,
nacional.
for many in our community, especially those that wear the uniform. So, honoring Lieutenant Lopez today
La importancia de ser un hombre uniformado
can
y
inspire
su
pride,
aporte
unity, and a
a
shared
la
sense
nación.
of purpose across our entire city. So today it's my great honor on behalf of the city of Tampa
Es mi
to
honor
provide a proclamation to the Lopez family.
brindarle
And I don't know if Mike Lopez can come up here as a representative
una
for the
proclamación
family so I can
a la
present
memoria y acciones del teniente Baldomero López en sus 75 años de su sacrificio. Y en estos momentos la alcaldesa le está ofreciendo esta proclama al hijo o a un hermano de Baldomero López, quien es Mike López. En estos momentos, la alcaldesa está leyendo la proclama que se le está haciendo entrega a los familiares de Baldomero López, este hispano nacido aquí en la Bahía de Tampa. Y que bueno, esto es una buena acción de parte de la ciudad de Tampa para dar inicio a este mes de la herencia hispana, que sin duda vamos a estar cubriendo desde el principio hasta el final y vamos a estar preparando mucho contenido para ustedes, porque si de hispanos vamos a hablar, tampahoy.com es el lugar perfecto para encontrar la información local aquí en la Bahía de Tampa, y no solamente aquí en la Bahía de Tampa, sino de todos los hispanos que nos rodean, porque tampahoy.com es un punto para mantenerte informado de manera en español, 100% en español, y por parte de un equipo 100% hispano que está 100% trabajando para ti. Vamos a ver la continuación de la conferencia de prensa del evento oficial que se está realizando en el Centro Asturiano de Tampa.
about what that's birthday, and this is the which calls join me in honoring God. And he recognizes bravery in the extreme he made on behalf. The victory to the hometown hero is finally to the Lopez family, and thank you to every individual who has raised their hand and taken an oath to serve our country and our community. May God bless each and every one of you and keep you safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Castro. We appreciate that. I also wanted to acknowledge, I'd be remiss if I didn't, our other Medal of Honor recipients here in the city of Tampa. Ronald Ray, who is still with us, who is a University of Tampa graduate and got the Medal of Honor for his service in Vietnam, and the late Paul Ray Smith, who gave all in Iraq, who was a Tampa Vo-Tech graduate, who was buried at Arlington. He passed on a very young man, so God bless them, and we remember them always. Next, it is my great pleasure to introduce Hillsborough High School Principal Dr. Kevin Gordon for remarks. We are pleased to welcome Dr. Gordon, Principal of Hillsborough High School. Hillsborough High School is the oldest high school in the county and is the alma mater of Lieutenant Baldomero López, who graduated here in 1943. Dr. Gordon, please come forward, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. See, when you're the little kid on the block, you don't get someone to give you an intro. So I'd bring my own bio with me. I've been in this business for almost 38 years, educating our future. I've been a principal at every level, that's elementary, middle, and high school, and I also did 6.5 years at the St. Petersburg College. But it's my extreme honor and privilege to be the leader of Hillsborough High School for the past 3 years, going on my 4th year. So I bring you greetings on behalf of Hillsborough County Schools, the school board, and Superintendent Van Ayers from the Big Red. You've already heard about the legacy of Lieutenant Baldomero, so I'll try to add a little bit to that, but a lot has been said about his greatness and the legacy that he's left behind. It was an extreme honor and privilege to have General Bowers and his delegation to come and visit our youngsters today, to interact with them and to also speak with them. We are still in the business at Hillsborough High School and the junior ROTC program there of educating future leaders, not just for the military, but in life. They learn discipline, they learn respect, they learn courage, they learn honor, and they take that with them when they leave the walls of our high school. So that legacy that Lieutenant Lopez was a part of when he walked the halls of Hillsborough High School is still alive and well. And the junior ROTC program at Hillsborough High School is flourishing. Now, as was mentioned earlier, Hillsborough High School is one of the oldest high schools in Florida, and by far it's the absolute most beautiful high school anywhere. So if you haven't had an opportunity, just 2 miles down the road, come and see it. Now, in 2 more years, it'll be 100 years old. And our alumni with the president, Mr. Albini, is here, and we're raising funds to help with that 100-year celebration. So if you feel so compelled to do so, please contribute to the Hillsborough Alumni Association to help them with this magnificent celebration that's going to be coming up in 2 years. To tell you a little bit about the school, is still flourishing. We have a number of vocational programs there that we give students the opportunity to go into welding, cosmetology, and botany. So we still offer many, many opportunities for our students. And so I want to just say thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's an honor to be asked to speak on this momentous occasion to celebrate one of Tampa's and Hillsboro's finest sons who made the ultimate sacrifice so that we can preserve the freedoms that we all work so very hard for. Thank you for being here. I know it's been a long day and you all have taken time out of your busy schedule to be here. So thank you for being here. And if you feel so compelled, come by and see us at the Big Red.
Thank you. We appreciate your remarks. As our final speaker to bring greetings, it is my great pleasure to welcome Mr. Mike Lopez. Come forward, sir, who is and let's give him a round of applause. Who is a very proud nephew of Lieutenant Baldomero Lopez. He's here with his family, including his wonderful sister and others who are here. And, like Judge Salsina said, Tampa doesn't forget their heroes, from Francisco Rodriguez to Lieutenant Baldomero Lopez to Jesse Madsen today. We don't forget our heroes. So please help me welcome Mr. Mike Lopez.
Thank you. On behalf of my family, it's an honor to be here today. I'd like to thank everyone involved in honoring and keeping my uncle's legacy alive. It's amazing that after 75 years, the sacrifices and his actions and sacrifices are still remembered and honored. Our family is extremely grateful for the continued recognition of my Uncle Baldy's sacrifice. I've had the honor to meet a number of Marines over the last several decades, being involved in different things like this. There's one thing that I could always truly say is all the Marines are a special breed. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We really, really appreciate you 100%. I wanted to, and that was our last speaker. Thank you, sir. So there's one thing I did want to mention, which is, there were talked about, and I'm so glad to see we have a representative here from South Korea. It tells you a lot. I always say that the United States is a decent country. We are a decent country. We have a lot of decency in us. And for me, the Korean War, imagine that. 5 years after going through the hell of World War II, over 500,000 Americans gave all. And 5 years after that, when North Korea crossed the, 38th parallel and went into South Korea, President Truman summoned yet again Americans to go to war 5 years after the most terrible war we had ever seen. And 36,000 Americans gave all over 2.5 years so that South Koreans could be free. Folks, that's what a decent country does. That's what a decent country does. And we always remember that. And saving South Korea from communism, something that my parents fled in 1960 from Cuba. So I think that's something very important to note. I would like to bring forward to talk about something the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be doing. Chief of Staff John Bennett, who did so much for here today. John Bennett is the silent man on everything that happens here in the city of Tampa, a fine gentleman and more Catholic than the Pope, John Bennett.
Thank you, Councilman. Just a few comments real quick before we close. First of all, what a great day to be part of this Tampa community. It humbled my heart listening to these stories that Mayor Castor and myself, and I see Major Alex Steele in the room, among others, that were able to be on those grounds of Quantico and the FBI National Academy, where Lieutenant Lopez served this country. So that was a unique connection for us sitting in this room today. Next, I want to thank the Planning Committee, especially Judge Salsinas, Louis Vieira's office with Brandon, our marketing communications team, and our community engagement team to put this special ceremony together. And then last, I have a relayed message from our Tampa Bay Buccaneer family who are playing away tonight, that they're going to do a special honoring of Lieutenant Lopez at the first home game on September 21st, and they're going to celebrate that game in his honor. So they asked me to relay that message to our Tampa community, and Lieutenant Lopez is clearly part of Tampa Bay. So thank you.
I'd like to invite our closing benediction, Colonel DJ Reyes, if you come back up, sir, for it. We appreciate you. And one thing I do want to add is, again, over the next year, we are working on, we have the artist who's here, a life-size statue of Lieutenant Lopez that will be near the Riverwalk. So we're very excited about that. So Colonel Reyes, if you could, sir.
Before I give you the benediction, I would just like to mention something that Jim Marks just mentioned to me, which shook me up a little bit, but in a very good way. He shared with me that at the Baldomero López nursing home in Lakes, there actually is an old Marine who was there, who was with Baldomero López and those men that had that historic landing. And so I guess the takeaway for me is that the spirit of Baldomero López lives on, and it's in the flesh, and it will never leave any of us. And with that, please let us pray. Heavenly Father, hearts are full today. Thank you for blessing us today and for honoring our community with a true hero and patriot. As Baldomero charged up the seawall, let this also serve as a charge to all of us to live a life of purpose, of faith, and of love, worthy of his ultimate sacrifice. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, everybody, for being here again. Thank you, everybody, for your hard work.
Amigos de Tampa,
Special round of
en
applause.
estos momentos se acaba de terminar este evento que se realizó para honrar la memoria de Baldomero López en una ceremonia.
Crystal Lastra for hosting us here today. And finally, we're going to be hearing from the family of Lieutenant Baldomero López, who is here, and they're right here. Let's give them a round of applause. So next, it is my great pleasure to introduce Judge E.J. Salfinas, who will be giving us some wonderful remarks. Judge E.J. Salfinas served as a career federal and state prosecutor for 22 years and then the private practice for 13 years before becoming appointed an appellate judge by Governor Lawton Childs. Among his many legal accomplishments include serving as Assistant State Attorney for Hillsborough County, Assistant U.S. Attorney of the United States Department of Justice in the Middle District of Florida, as a Special Federal Prosecutor for Organized Crime, and State Attorney for the 13th Judicial Circuit. Known for his work as attorney, Judge Salfinas has always broken barriers on race and gender. Upon his retirement, he would go on to